Good morning to everyone, and welcome to another edition of Inside the News. It's good to be with you guys on this somewhat of a beautiful Saturday morning. I am German Abel, sitting in here as per usual. You know, when it's Saturday, we go beyond, and we go beyond, rather, we go inside the headlines to have our discussions in terms of what made the news and what is of interest to everyone here in St. Kitts and Nevis and those within the diaspora community. This morning, we have a panel of guests. Four interesting gentlemen will be with us this morning to have a discussion on three critical areas. The latest in terms of the CARICOM impasse, one; two, the South Friars issue; and three, the implications for the ongoing war. As we all know, we've been feeling it in our pockets, even though it is thousands of miles away. Right? I'll let the gentlemen introduce themselves in a little bit. Three of them are already in studio. The fourth one will be joining shortly. But before we do all of that, I just wanted to bring some sad news. Latest news coming in this morning. There was a shooting incident which has left one person dead. Police confirmed that early this morning. I'll get a little bit more details for you. But we had another homicide recorded this morning. So condolences to the family there. But it is an issue that we've long been dealing with and something that the government and broader society has been trying to tackle over the years. But before we jump into the discussions, let's quickly acknowledge our partners because we have a very fruitful discussion and full and robust discussion planned for you today. So we'll acknowledge our partners and then we come right back into the discussion this morning.
Heritage matters to me. Heritage matters to you. Join me, Percival Hanley, this coming Friday and every other Friday at 10 a.m. to 12 noon for Heritage Matters on Win Media SKN 98.9. Heritage matters to me. Heritage matters to you.
Come, build with us at Hostels Building and Neva Centers. We don't just sell materials, we help you build your dreams. Whether it's a new home, a renovation, or a DIY project, we're here to make it happen. That's why we say, build with us. From foundation to finish, come to our stores where we have the best in building materials, hardware, tools, paints, expert advice, and more. Whatever you need, you can count on us. So if you're ready to get started, build with us. With Hostels Building and Neva Centers, you're not just building a structure, you're building a future. Let us help you create something amazing. Dream with us, plan with us, grow with us, build with us. Come build with us at Hostels Building and Neva Centers today. Build with us at Hostels.
Don't throw those bottles away. Turn them into money today. Vitamalt bottles equal cash in your pocket. It's super easy. Just take those empty Vitamalt bottles to any Cara Brewery distribution truck or any drinks depot in St. Kitts and Nevis. We're keeping our beautiful Twin Island paradise clean. Vitamalt bottles equal cash back. Keep it clean, keep it green. Vitamalt bottle returns. Your bottles, your cash, your island.
People make the world go round.
Yes, and we are back to begin the discussions this morning. As I said, we have three gentlemen in the studios this morning. I'll let them introduce themselves because I think I may not do justice in describing all of their accomplishments and achievements. So we will begin with Mr. Gums.
Good morning to everyone. Good morning, Jermaine. Good morning to persons who are listening for. And so I am excited to be here. I'm glad to be here to discuss national issues and, of course, even regional issues, international issues. So thank you so much, Jermaine.
Okay.
Hi, good morning. I'm Dr. MacArthur Brown. I'm here as the, let's put it this way, an independent mind. I want to say good morning to the listening public and condolences to the family of the latest homicide victim. I'm happy to be here to lend ears to the issues that are affecting the nation, whether it's positive or negatively.
Thank you. Oh, well, good morning. I'm Austin Edinburgh. I think everybody knows that I'm a supporter of the St. Kitts Labour Party. There's no doubt in my mind where my political support lies. But I'm here as a social commentator and one who do not shy away from controversy. I always try to make sure that my contribution, wherever, whenever, is rooted in facts. Thank you very much.
Good morning to all. I'm Tony Nias, and I am a citizen, one who feel the pain like every other citizen. So I'm just here to have that discussion as a regular citizen.
Wh-
Okay. All right. We
Sorry.
lost our host.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that was my bad. So
Okay.
I was saying, I want the public to take away positives from this and get a better understanding of where we are as a society and some of the issues and find solutions to those issues based on what we discuss here in terms of moving forward as a society and better uplifting the country. I want to start first with the issue over at South Friars. This has been one of those things where I don't think the public comprehensively understands what this means and where the government's position is surrounding this particular issue, right? Um, because we've heard the Attorney General say, to an extent, that this is private land. Um, we've given the vendors notice, adequate time to move in general, but then we've heard pushback from the vendors and some sections of society. So I want to start there with us having this discussion, and I want to start with Edinburgh first to get a position from him from the government's point of view.
Well, the AG speaks on legal matters on behalf of the government. I will give you my opinion anyhow in relation to what is happening down at South Friars Beach. This is a matter that first came to the public's attention in 2017 under the Team Unity administration. If research is done on it, you will find the then Prime Minister, Dr. Timothy Harris, speaking to a press release that came from the then Minister of Tourism, and that was handed to him. I have these things. I'm not going to play them here, and I'm also doing a commentary on it. But we should really research it. There was also another from the then director of SKNIS, who was given a cabinet report, cabinet briefing report, And he emphatically said that one of the things that Cabinet was briefed on is the relocation of the bars on South Friars Beach. There was yet another time when the Prime Minister spoke, and this time, or the then Prime Minister, sorry, and this time Dr. Harris was speaking to his supporters, when he said, I want the hotel to provide work for hundreds of persons. And that's okay. As a matter of fact, you can't go back in that time and find any comment from the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party that was in opposition, that was against the development. You just can't find. At that time, the leader of the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party was Dr. Denzel Douglas, and Dr. Terence Rudin, now Prime Minister, was then chair of the party. At no time you would find a comment, because as people like to talk about our most excellent Sir Robert turning in his grave. So let's talk about 1975. Land acquisition. Apart from the sugar lands, which was for the purpose, acquired for the purposes of continuing the sugar industry, Frigate Bay was also acquired to give the people of St. Kitts access to the beach. And up until today, the only right that the people of St. Kitts and Nevis has in any law in St. Kitts and Nevis is the right of access to our beaches for recreational purposes and to enjoy them. That was given by Sir Robert to us. But South Friars, well, South Friars is only part of it. The southeastern peninsula was not acquired, and all of the lands in those areas were owned by private owners. And so there has never been any return of land in that area under any administration to foreigners. And I say any because when Dr. Simmons came in, it was in private hands. When Dr. Douglas came in, it was in private hands. When Dr. Harris came in, it was in private hands. When Dr. Drew came in, it was in private hands. So no prime minister, no administration with respect to South Friars Beach has returned to the past and sell any of our land to foreigners. That was done by the private landowners.
Jermaine?
Okay, go ahead, Azad.
Yeah, so Mr. Edinburgh makes reference to an article under the Team Unity administration, and I pulled up an article that is dated the 31st of January 2018, and it says Prime Minister Dr. Honorable Timothy Harris led a team of cabinet ministers, including Deputy Prime Minister Honorable Sean Richards, Honorable Lindsey Grant, Honorable Ian Patches-Liebert, Honorable Eugene Hamilton, Honorable Wendy Phipps, Honorable Vincent Byron Jr., and Cabinet Secretary Honorable Josephine Huggins that hosted and met a group of bar operators South Friars Beach. A caring Team Unity government moved swiftly to hear and discuss the concerns of the local operators who will be affected by pending end of lease with private developers. The bar operators praised the Team Unity government for their swift action to meet with them and discuss, and commended the government for taking time to listen and address their concerns. That was in 2018. And from this article, it reads that there was some sort of discussion with those bar owners. This is 2022 now. Those bar owners were not evacuated. They were not given any force to move. It's 2026. We're under a labor administration. The actions now that are felt by the bar owners as a result or as a consequence of this labor administration. I'm glad that Mr. Edinburgh notes that this is a matter in terms of private land ownership. And so one has to ask the question, don't the bar owners have their attorney? And I'm sure the landowners themselves have their attorneys. And as Mr. Edinburgh has rightfully indicated that this is a matter involving private land, one has to ask the question why the government seems so heavily involved, and why not this matter be disputed and resolved in the court of St. and Nevis.
Oh, okay. I want to get the two perspectives from my other two guests in the studio there, Mr. Nias and Mr. McCarthy.
Yes. Yes.
Both,
Go ahead.
hold on. Because both Azad and Mr. Edinburgh, they both reference articles which suggest that this discussion was going on for quite some time, right? But at the same time, we're not necessarily getting the feel from the bar owners that anything adequate in terms of education or any proper notice or so was actually being had between them, the government or governments surrounding this move. So I think the question then would be whether or not somebody here is being disingenuous when it comes to this whole movement of the bartenders, but the bar owners rather.
What I can say, Jermaine, one of the things, I don't want to really get in the back and forth between the political parties. I want to stay on the idea of what is best for the people of St. Kitts and Nevis. And what is happening at South Friars Bay reminds me of what is happening in Nevis, where persons are saying it is private lands. It is private lands. Government is not selling any land. But yet you're seeing where both in St. Kitts and Nevis, both governments appear to be taking the lead in these projects. Now, to be fair, if the lands are private lands, then the bar owners should acknowledge that and relocate. And if the government is offering them other spaces for relocation, then they should look at what is the best opportunity for their businesses. And because none of us, and we have to be real, none of us who are landowners would want anyone who is occupying our lands, whether it's to lease, rent, or otherwise, and now we are ready for our lands, we cannot have access to our lands. So if it's private lands, I'm saying, for the general public to understand, if these lands are private, and they are private lands, then the bar owners should say, hey, I have occupied these lands for X amount of time, they've given me adequate notice to move, and I'm willing to move. But what is equally important, Jermaine, see this access to the beaches? In our minds, we believe that if this mega project comes and they just leave a footpath where the citizens could just walk to the beach, that is enough. The government should ensure that us, the people, would always have not just a footpath, but could drive, could park, could have enough space, not just on the sand, could have enough space for family, for events on these beaches. Because we've seen it with Christophe Harbour and Sandy Bank Bay, we have seen it with Park Hyatt, we have seen it with the Marriott, we have seen it with the Four Seasons, and I'm saying that if you have these major developments happening on our beaches, ensure the public of St. Kitts and Nevis could enjoy the beach to the fullest, not just a footpath, and you say park on the main road and walk to the beach. We should be able to drive and park with our families, our friends, and have events on the beach. That is what I believe our first national hero intended when he said that the person should be able to enjoy the beach, not just a footpath. And that is where all these things being lost.
Mr. Nias?
Yes.
Jump in here.
Well, here is my thing. We have established then that the lands are private lands. Okay. We also established that the government is looking at development. The hotel is important to them, regardless to the administration. It's important to them for jobs, etc., for people. There's no issue there. Here's my concern. My concern is that every time there are any issue with respect to lands and development that the government is interested in, we seem to not want to have the discussion or consultations before. As I had pointed out that under the team unity government or administration, there were discussions with the bar owners, which is the appropriate and proper thing to do. Here, we in a situation where, after the fact, we are having all these discussions and offering places to go to. It doesn't seem to me like there was discussions ahead of time, consultation with these people who will be affected. And that is really what concerns me. It happened as well in Nevis. The government, after the fact, wanted to have consultation on this SSC issue in Nevis, as opposed to meeting it head-on up front. And so they now want to have discussions and consultations with people, with the nationals in this country. The other thing is that, as was pointed out by Mr. Brown, I have noticed over time when these developments come in, it would seem that the negotiations seem to go one way, where these developers, they have these high-powered lawyers and that are involved in the negotiations, and they seem to get just about everything they want. For us, we are depending on the administration to look out for us as citizens of this country. And so therefore, when you negotiate these development that are going to affect lands and access, etc., why aren't we making sure that the citizens of this country are properly represented and you don't give away the whole store? Because, as was pointed out by Mr. Brown a few minutes ago, a lot of times, and I've seen it, and it still exists, that what these developers take as access to the beach is, as he pointed out, a footpath. I know at the Hyatt, for example, I used to go to the Hyatt, to that beach with my family, and we would have our coolers, we would have our grill, etc. So you go and you have a family day there. So imagine now that, as he pointed out, they believe that all you need is a footpath. And so where is the real enjoyment of the beach for the families that always had this enjoyment before the development? So now, as he points out, I have to park, head out my grill, down some footpath, and coolers, everything that that we go to enjoy the beach. And to me, that's not really access. Make these people in your negotiation, in your agreement, understand what access really means. And so those are the concerns I have, not with development per se, because of course we all support development. But in your agreement, in your negotiations, think about us. Think about the people, and people first. Isn't that what we want? Think about people first. And you could, at some point, come to a point in your agreement that takes into account the citizens as well as the developer. And everybody wins.
Just to say,
No,
Jermaine.
May I say something, Jermaine? Because we have gone all the way around and I have spoken only once. So kindly allow me to say something, please. There was mention made of an article in which some praises were given for a meeting. And the impression that is given from that is that this administration had no discussions before the latest move. That is wrong. And people know it is wrong. Not only were there discussions, but official communications were sent. Official communications were sent because at the very beginning, and I will say this, when the Attorney General and myself journeyed down to Discovery Bar and Grill to try to arrange a meeting, Marcy told us that they have a lawyer. The name of the lawyer is Dr. Henry Brown, and if we want to speak to him, we must consult his lawyer.
Why do you think that happened?
No, sorry, I'm not here to answer any questions. I am not going to be involved in this going and froing. I allowed all of you to speak to your pleasure, and if I'm not going to be afforded the same opportunity, I am not going to be involved. I am not going to be involved. Sorry,
German.
sorry. Let me finish, please, German. I'll hold for you.
Finish your point.
Yes. The point is.
No, I was okay. So I was going to ask, right, Edinburgh, because I give you guys the opening. I just wanted to ask whether or not, because both Azad and you know, basically indicated in your opening that there were discussions that were had.
Exactly.
Right? There were discussions that were had. So that is understood that, because Azad did mention that Team Unity, and he was reading a report there that said Dr. Harris and a team from cabinet actually met with the bar owners back then. You also alluded to the fact that some discussions were had there. So I think the question now is, there's no argument that no discussions were not had. That's understood. I think now the better question and the discussion should be, what is actually prompting the issue right now? If these discussions were had, why is it now a problem that the bar owners have this issue of moving if they're on private lands, right? That for me is where I think the question lies. What is the bottom line or the underlying issue that is not being answered here as to why both the bar owners as well as the government cannot come to some level of compromise for them to actually move? Well, now the issue has somewhat been technically, quote unquote, here, being resolved to an extent.
In reality, sir, in reality, the only thing that the government has any control over in South Friars is the beach. And that's the point I was coming to. You ask a fundamental question. Why do they feel like they don't have to move? Because somebody fooled them and tell them that because they've been squatting on the land for over 20 years, nobody could move them. But my good friend here, what's your title again? Nias raised an excellent point. It has to do with access. Recently, in Act number 26 of 2025, and that act is the National Conservation Environment Management Protection Act, Section 77. These two first sections have always been there. It is hereby declared that all rights in and over the beach are vested in the Crown, and all beaches in St. Christopher and Nevis are hereby declared public beaches. The public shall have the right of access and the right to use or enjoy the beach for recreational activities and purpose. There shall be, and this portion was also on the previous laws, but then I'm going to get to where it changed. There shall be at least one public landward access to every beach in St. Christopher and Nevis. That the access, and this is where for the first time these things were added to the act, that the access shall not be less than 8 feet in width. For the first time, that is put into the act under this administration. Where traditionally the access was greater than 8 feet in width, that original access must be retained and shall be able to facilitate the proper access by emergency services. Traditional public use of a private landward access through an existing private development shall be sufficient grounds for establishing a public right-of-way over that access solely for the purpose of access to the beach by the public. All of these last sections that I read, for the first time in 2025, was added to this act, improving the rights of public access to the beach. So why are we not speaking about these wonderful things that this administration has done for the public in giving them access to the beach? We seem to want to beat them over the head for a problem.
What we see is that in practice.
Theirs.
Is that in practice?
Oh my, please.
That's my
Also,
question.
The law is there.
I think Mr. Nyers raised a very important point, because Mr. Edinburgh, in speaking and addressing us, he said that, I think you said your Attorney General and yourself went down to the bar owners.
No, I said we went to Discovery Bar.
To Discovery Bar.
In an attempt to organize a meeting with the bar owners. At that time, he was the only one that was open. So we went there. He said, hold on. He said to us, and he named 3 that was part of that same lawyer. Him, Shipwreck, and Godfather. They had their lawyers. None of the others were there. And so if we need to speak to them, speak to the lawyers.
The bars, are the bars on private or public land?
Okay.
And if it is on, making the point, because if it is on private land, then it's a private land mash issue, and that's why he referred the lawyers.
The beach is crown land, and so if you are providing a vending service, you go under, there's an act that deals with this, the Prescribed Area Act under tourism. There's a whole, and that last revision of that act was made in 2017 under Team
So when you and the Attorney General met or tried to meet with Discovery, was it because of the access to the beach?
You're not going to quiz me, you know. I've said what I've said.
We going back. I want to give Makata to jump in here. I think you wanted to respond quickly.
Go ahead, right? Say again?
No, you wanted to jump in here quickly before, because the thing is, I don't want us to go around in circles, because I don't want the public to run away with this matter, with this idea that this matter is political, right? I just want people to understand where we as a society can go from here, because from what I'm understanding, the discussion is a matter of enforcement of laws that are already on the books, rather than this back and forth of whether or not the government is correct, or whether or not the bar owners are correct, or whether or not a footpath is enough. It's more like the act is there, everything is written in black and white, but it's now for whether or not it's this administration or administrations to come to enforce that particular act. Either you or Nias want to comment on that?
No, what I would say, Jermaine, is that government, whether it's the St. Nevis Labour Party, whether it is PAM Party, whether it's PLP, NRP, or CCM, they are there to protect the interests of the citizens And any development, any form of development, may I say that not all developments are good for a country, the first thing. But the government must ensure that the people interest comes first. Just like Mr. Nair said, do not consult the people after you have made negotiations with these developers. Because we have seen time and time again where the people have gotten the bad end of the bargain under several different administrations. Just look at Christoph Harbour. Look at Christoph Harbour and look at what is happening in Nevis with the Destiny project, or the proposed Destiny project. The Premier came to the people in Nevis after he was forced to come to the people. Granted, he did that, but it should not have been a matter of us, the people, rising up and saying, hey, something smells fishy about this Destiny project, because these developments have a way of affecting all of us, whether we are PAM, Labour, NRP, or CCM. And so the government must at all times educate the public and do it in such a way that the basic and the small man could understand what is happening in the country. And that is all I'm asking for, that government act responsible and know that the people put them there to work in their interest, not in the interest of developers and development.
I also want to say, Jermaine, just for it to be clear, that the People's Action Movement, we believe in development and we believe in progress. And as indicated before, I said when we were part of Team Unity in 2018, we met with the bar owners, the members of cabinet, along with the Prime Minister, met with the bar owners. They listened to them, they understood them. And up to today, you realize, well, up to 2022, when the Team Unity was in power, there was no movement of these individuals. There was no action as you see the actions taken today. And so you could see that the approach of Team Unity and the People's Action Movement is somewhat different, vastly different to the approach of the Labour administration. Again, I am saying that if this is a private issue and a private matter, then the best avenue to settle the dispute is within the court.
And I agree, but of course, if you're going to allow Azad to take shots at the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party, you're going to have to allow me to speak, because I don't want this back and forth. But if he is going to take shots, then I am going to have to be allowed to respond.
Yes, you are going to be allowed to respond, but I want to get Nias's input first, then yours, because we have to take a break. So I was going to give you the chance to respond before
we go to the break. All right, thank you.
That's the thing. So Nias, go ahead.
Well, quickly. First of all, the fact that you have these laws, and as Mr. Edinburgh pointed out, that laws amended, and sounds good. I mean, my point then is, then I'm still seeing the same situation if I go to Hyatt right now. So is it enforced? Sounds good on paper, but is it being enforced? And if it's not being enforced, there's usually a reason why it's not. But I'll leave that. The other thing I wanted to take a look at is the fact that he also pointed out that they tried to meet with a particular bar owner.
No, to arrange a meeting for the bar owners.
They tried to arrange a meeting with the bar owners, that particular bar owner. And the response they got was that we have a lawyer. It seemed to me that when someone says that to you, it's because maybe there was some antagonism beforehand. Because as I had pointed out in the article, early under the team unity government, they were able to have a meeting. So there is some question there as to why when you try to have a meeting with them, they say, "Oh, I have talk to my lawyer." You get. I think people generally get the point I'm trying to make here. So that's it for me. That's why that's my concern.
Go ahead, Enmaro.
Yes, please. And so my thing is, this project, the building of the Ritz-Carlton, is the very same project that was signed off to under Team Unity. Why it didn't happen then had nothing to do with not wanting to move the bar owners. One, financing of the project. There were extreme difficulty of the then developer to fund it. Two, we had a situation where COVID came along. And three, the CBI, which they intended to use to fund it, came under scrutiny over the underselling. However, since then, new investors have invested in the very same development and are ready to move along with it. So it is not that there is a new set of investors just coming in and this thing start from scratch. This is a project development of the government. First, intended to be executed under Team Unity. Now being executed under the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party. And so, if we look at the laws, and I don't want to blame Team Unity because I was not against the development. I had conversation with Morsi back then, and I told him, because he showed me a lease, and I said, well, it's up to you to have a discussion with the landowners or with the new developers. I didn't go, nobody could find anything from me either, nor from anybody from the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party, where they were speaking adverse to the development. Because private people will have their land. We had a situation in Nevis where a private landowner took a bar owner to court who did not want to move. He lost. And the government, who had land on Pennies but further away from the Four Seasons, offered him land for his relocation. Here's what the situation is. The government, period, under whichever administration, own no land on South Friars Beach. So it cannot offer relocation on South Friars Beach because you can't put a bar dead smack in the middle of the beach. The right is for enjoyment and recreational. Hence, the government, under the land acquisition of the most excellent Robert Llewellyn Thatcher, has the land around Frigate Bay, South Frigate Bay Beach. They offered lots there to the gentlemen to continue in their business. So, and I'm going to finish now, but since the opening of the South Friars Beach, there were some projects that fell through. And certain government agencies were able to have land ceded to them as part of the settlement. And so the government also has some land at Cockleshell, and that was also offered, not just by word of mouth, but in writing as part of the relocation. If persons don't want to accept it, you can't blame a government. You can't blame an administration. You have to blame them. Thank you very much.
The question was never answered, though, as to whether we are on private or
And I think Mr. Edinburgh
Public lands.
has
Okay,
said
guys,
that this is
guys, I
a
really need to
private
go pay
issue,
some bills.
based on what he's
I
saying.
understand this debate will continue, but I really need to go pay some bills because at the end of the day, we can't have this program if we don't pay the bills.
Yes.
All I want to say, German, is that approach matters most, and the approach of this administration.
Hold on.
You're a real politician, boy. You're a real politician.
And then we come right back.
Okay.
We'll take a few calls. The line is lighting up, so we'll take a few callers when we come back.
Found the sound 98.9 winnfm.
Don't throw those bottles away. Turn them into money today. Vitamalt bottles equal cash in your pocket. It's super easy. Just take those empty Vitamalt bottles to any Cara Brewery distribution truck or any drinks depot in St. Kitts and Nevis. We're keeping our beautiful Twin Island paradise clean. Vitamalt bottles equal cash back. Keep it clean, keep it green. Vitamalt bottle returns. Your bottles, your cash, your island.
If you need protection, you need one who you can trust to secure your investment. You need one who'll do you just. TDC Insurance, you're the one that you can trust. TDC Insurance, you're always safe with us. TDC Insurance is your go-to insurance company for all your insurance needs. We take pride in offering you the best solutions and ensuring our customers are fully satisfied. TDC Insurance, we take good care of you, guaranteeing you peace of mind. You're always safe with us.
People make the world go
And we are back with more Inside the News. I'm German Abel sitting in the hot seat, and we have four gentlemen who, and we were debating a little bit on the topic of the movement of the vendors from South Friars Bay. And I'm enjoying the discussions, gentlemen. And I think the public would have learned something from what we discussed there in the first part of the program. I think we may have a caller. Yes, we have a caller. Caller, good morning. Caller, good morning.
Jermaine?
Yes.
Yeah, I want you to add something to the discussion. I don't think the public at large fully understand what Mr. Edinburgh, a point Mr. Edinburgh made. And we had a discussion when we went to break. We have had development in St. Kitts and Nevis. And I would want to mention St. Kitts and Nevis and not just St. Kitts. Because what happens in St. Kitts affects those in Nevis, and what happens in Nevis could affect us and will affect us. Okay.
Good day.
Hi, caller, good morning.
Yeah, good morning. I think one of the problems that we have is that we have a historical record of what happened in developers adjacent to beaches. The Caribbean as a whole, not just here. We know that they would prefer essentially for their properties to own. And there must be pushback from the people against that. And who best to push back than the government that the people chose to represent their interests? In this particular situation, what we're having is that our government both in St. Kitts and Nevis, seem to be taking the side of developers at the expense of locals. And there's something fundamentally wrong with that. I said that because, well, we all know what happened in the Destiny project where the consultations came after, for one. And the government in Nevis is essentially promoting the project as opposed to just the developer. In St. Kitts, we have the Attorney General actually making comments like, do you prefer a Ritz-Carlton or shacks on the beach? As if the two can't coexist, right? It's taking one side over the other. And the next thing is they're using the emotional argument. Well, if you had land, you would not like anybody come squatting on it and using it when you want to use it. Of course, nobody would want that. But that is not the case here. Because I went down to, me and another community person, went down and spoke to, I think it was Discovery Bar, and as well as the other, it wasn't called Friars, the shipwreck. The impression that was given, well, we were showed, first of all, a survey that showed that the land, that the bar themselves were on Crown land, that is the beach. And the government has been using the fact that they had a lease. Well, let me explain what happened with that, or what we were told happened with that. They, at the outset, didn't want any trouble and just assumed that they were on the developer's land and signed the lease prior to the actual survey. When they did the survey and realized that they were...
Colonel Mayor, who did the survey? If you're going to provide me with this kind of information.
Survey.
Who did the survey?
That question.
A licensed surveyor.
Who commissioned it? Only two people. Only the government or the owner. So the bar owners can commission the survey because they own no land. It's either the government
that's not so.
for the beach or the owners of the land. Because if you have a survey, it must go into the registry for it to be valid.
But what I'm saying...
And I can't speak about something that is not in the registry.
No.
Okay,
You're not. No, Austin. Come on. Right?
Okay.
If you do a survey, if you want a piece of land and you do a survey, right? And it shows that it shows that you're not on.
Yeah. Hold on, caller. I'll give you a minute because we have two other topics that I really want to get to. Right, so I'll give you a minute.
Yeah. What I'm saying is that they stopped paying for the lease, right? When they discovered that they were not, in fact, on the developer's land. That is what happened. So you can't use that lease to say, well, no, they were on the developer's land. The survey showed that they weren't. Okay? And in the final analysis, right, what has been happening, why we have this problem, is that we do not have an overall development plan for our beaches. We don't have a lot of them in the first place, and we should be taking better care of them. And this shunting shacks up and down other beaches and so on, I think we've had enough of that, right? We need to have an overall plan for the development of our beaches that include access, that, of course, if there's a resort there, they must have access to the beach as well, okay? Rather than have this ad hoc, as soon as some developer come, you take them hook, line, and sinker. We know what has happened in the past, and we don't want that to continue happening, where the citizens are disadvantaged in the land. Okay.
All right, thanks, caller. I think Nias, you were responding to your comment before.
I think Mr. Brown was.
Just let me say quickly what I wanted to say. We have seen development coming both in St. Kitts and Nevis. The Destiny project. It's only after we've been told that the proposed developers, all of the billionaires that they say they are, and all of the money that they say they raise, they then insert in the back door, we want to use the CBI program to fund the development.
Not
Part
long
of
time
it.
ago, so.
Yes, it was said, Austin Edinburgh. Yes, it was said. And now, we're hearing from Austin Edinburgh again that the Ritz-Carlton, the first developers, the first set of developers,
Yes.
came and wanted to use our CBI program
And that's the truth, you know that too.
to fund the project. And I'm saying, Jermaine, when will the government, not just the Labour government, any administration.
We have a call. Caller, you live?
Yeah, good morning to you guys, man. Nice discussion here this morning. But one thing I'm going to say for certain, whenever this thing is over with, or in the act of all these disputes, the government surely got to put like a committee or something in place to monitor this access to the beaches going forward. And these are persons that must be doing the due diligence. Whenever a project is coming, the plans should be accessible to the public. So we can see that.
You have a minute and 30 seconds left.
Definitely that the new developers will be providing the proper access that noted according to the laws. And lastly, the legal issues, man. When the legal issues come up in the Federation, I need to see the lawyers them on the ground. Must come together to represent the people. And I'll leave it there. Thanks a lot.
Okay, thanks, caller. I want to ask you guys, because I want to wrap up this particular segment on this topic, right? Now we know, because we've all been debating this, right? We have the political views, we have the independent views. And I think the last caller touched on it, coming to the end of his comment, and this one as well. As we end this, where do we stand and how should we solve an issue like this from repeating itself in the future?
Well,
right?
the People's Action Movement believes in coming towards a peaceful resolution. Of course, we believe that development like this could coexist with what has been there before. We don't believe that there's need for disruption. We think that there's need for some coexistence. And so going forward, we have to be mindful that development doesn't come at all costs, but development goes hand in hand with ensuring that our people feel a part of that development and coexist.
Okay, Edinburgh?
Yeah.
We're going to take the call. Take the call.
Yeah, talk about greetings in Jesus' name, the only Savior of sinners. My first question is,
Turn on his radio.
does the people...
Turn on your radio.
Hello?
Can you turn on your radio?
Hello?
Can you turn on your radio? Yes.
Yes, okay, good. Yes, do the people operating on the bar, can they claim ownership of land that they're operating on if they have been existing there in the land for over a certain amount of years? Can they do that? And also, if they're on private land, other than giving the people an alternative place to go, other than that, why is the government so involved rather than let the people them go to court, all party goes to court and have the courts rule on the matter? Why not that rather than the government being so involved, other than giving them a portion of alternative land? So those two questions, and remember the first one, can they claim land that they have been on for a certain amount of years according to our laws? Thank you.
Okay, I'll let Edinburgh respond to this.
I want to let me go to a particular
let me just
law.
say in terms of the law, if you have a lease, and this is just general, if you have a lease with someone and you can't, if you have a lease for 30 years, thereafter the lease is terminated to claim any right to that land, because that would have been a lease arrangement between you and the owner, and that would be separate apart from any squatting rights you think you would have. So once you have a lease, it could be for 30 years, 40 years. It doesn't, at the end of it, say that I was there for 30 years, 40 years for the duration of this lease, and it somewhat becomes mine, or you have a right to it.
Chapter 4 of chapter 18.41, which is the St. Christopher Tourism Authority Licensing and Vendors Act, which was last revised on the 31st of December 2017, states at Section 4, subject to the provision of this Act, a person shall not engage in any activity as a vendor in or on any street, sidewalk, park, beach, or area of water adjacent to a beach, or in any other public area within a prescribed area, unless that person is the holder of a license granted pursuant of this Act, and such activity are carried out in accordance with the items and conditions of the license. That's 4(1) subsection A and B. It goes on, but the point is that you're asking about government intervention. South Friars Beach is a prescribed area. North Frigate Bay, in front of the Marriott, is a prescribed area. South Frigate Bay is a prescribed area under this Act. And I'm calling the beaches. Cockleshell is a prescribed area under under this Act. And so none of those areas a vendor can function without first obtaining a license. If you go on dead center in the beach, it is not going to be allowed. So wherever you are, there are certain things that is going to have to be on private or on land adjacent to the beach if you want to do like cooking and so on, something that is permanent.
Which brings me back to the point I've asked you.
No, but let me finish.
Is it private or public land?
Azad, let me finish. Let me finish, please.
You have to finish at some point.
all I'm saying, the question about government, and Azad, you hope to be in government. So I hope you would be as wise as the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party persons were in 2017 and 2018 and did not engage. Now, the point is that this act was revised in 2017, and I'm not going to assume that it was revised for any bad reason or not, because I could say it was revised for to facilitate South Friars and moving of the vendors, but I won't. My point is that we have a law which says that for persons to do vending, whether it is here vending or bar and restaurant or grill, on a beach in a prescribed area, they must get the permission. And it is not a right. That's the point. The only right that is given with beach is given to all of us equally. What you have is, I wouldn't even want it as a privilege, but you can get permission. And anywhere permission is given, anywhere in the world, permission can be withdrawn. If we don't prepare our people for these realities, we would be just flogging a dead horse all of the time and moving nowhere. I want to educate people. I want to educate people because we're either going to seek development or stay stagnant.
But the problem I'm asking about, when these development comes, and you hear Mr. Nels said it, of Park Hyatt, when these developments come and they're so close to the beach, we, the local people, begins to feel like foreigners in our own land. Because here what is happening is, look at Carambola, look at Park Hyatt, Marriott, these developments, they put down tons of beach chairs on the beach. You can't have any full enjoyment because when you go to the beaches, you feel like you're being watched. You feel you cannot even rest a cooler on the beach because there's no space. So I'm saying to you, the government, whichever government it is, needs to say, hey, we're going to bring a hotel, we're going to bring development, but it cannot be built in X amount of proximity from the beach.
No. Here's what I'm going to say. any development that include the use of the beach must be done for the expressed right of the people, which include our visitors equally. And so you can't use other people's thing that they put on the beach because they have the same right. If it's a commercial entity, they would have had an obtained permission. But if you
cannot obtain permission to block the beach.
I'm not here to argue. So let me tell you about me and Marriott and Park Hyatt and all of those. But even before that, and Jack Tar, when I was a police officer, when they told me that I can't walk across a space to go to the beach, I tell them call the police because I'm going to the beach. That was the first time.
Police?
Yeah, I was a police at the time, but tell them call the police.
They call the police.
No, I don't know because the police didn't come. I went beach means in the police. No. Marriott came. One day I'm walking through the beach. And my good friend over there know how I am with them over there. I'm walking through the hotel to go to the beach. And the security officer told me I can't go through there. I said, why? Because it's private property. I said, no. This here is a public thoroughfare. And again, in our act, under the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party administration, it said so. No, I said, I am going to the beach. I don't want you to lose your job. So call your boss and tell him $1 say he has 2 minutes to get here because I'm not going to wait any longer than that.
I think we've...
No, hold on. He came and I said to him, sir, I'm going to the beach. If you have a problem, call the police. And I went. I did it at the Park Hyatt. It was only after my intervention at the Park Hyatt that they put a walking space on the side.
A walking space?
No, I'm not going to lie. I'm saying now that since last year, the law is specific about what the access should look like and feel like.
Did they make a change?
Oh my, you see,
I'm asking
come on,
question.
you know the problem with your... I don't know. I know if I'm going to go to the Park Hyatt, I'm going to walk to the Park Hyatt and go. Nobody can tell me I need to go to on this side to go to the beach. But it is, I know, it is specific, and once it is specific, you can have your access according to the law. That's the point I was trying to
discuss this
Thanks.
for a long time.
Gentlemen,
Okay.
thank you. We need to take a break right now, right? Because I know we kind of we continue on this topic, but I want to think when I come back from the break, get your opinions and your feel on the recent announcements by the Prime Minister in terms of the measures to combat the impact that we're feeling in St. Kitts and Nevis regarding the fuel prices and the possibility that stuff can increase in terms of food prices. Inflation can really hit us hard. So I really want to get your take on that. Right. So we'll take a break now, and then we'll come right back and we'll jump into that discussion.
Thank you.
Thank you.
WINN is 98.9. 98.9 is Win FM.
Don't throw those bottles away. Turn them into money today. Vitamalt bottles equal cash in your pocket. It's super easy. Just take those empty Vitamalt bottles to any Cara Brewery distribution truck or any drinks depot in St. Kitts and Nevis. We're keeping our beautiful Twin Island paradise clean. Vitamalt bottles equal cash back. Keep it clean, keep it green. Vitamalt bottle returns. Your bottles, your cash, your island.
If you need protection, you need one who you can trust to secure your investment. You need one who'll do you just. TDC Insurance, you're the one that you can trust. TDC Insurance, you're always safe with us.
TDC Insurance is your go-to insurance company for all your insurance needs. We take pride in offering you the best solutions and ensuring our customers are fully satisfied. TDC Insurance, we take good care of you, guaranteeing you peace of mind.
You're always safe with us.
People make the world go
And we are back here on Inside the News. I'm German Abel in the hot seat again for you this weekend, and we're discussing issues that are impacting, or news that are impacting us as a society here in St. Kitts and Nevis, both locally, regionally, and internationally. Um, I want to transition over to the ongoing war and its impact on us in St. Kitts and Nevis and the broader Caribbean region. Over the last week, the IMF has basically warned the world that the ongoing war could have significant impact on not just the larger economies, but the smaller developing nations as well. They've projected a downward growth globally, and they've also warned Caribbean nations that even though they have not yet conducted their or completed their studies in terms of what major impact will be felt by small island states in the Caribbean region, they've still warned that there will be some level of impact. They've not given a broad, they've not dived deeper into the specifics in terms of the sectors, but the Western Hemisphere Department's the director said yesterday that one area that definitely they're looking at is the fuel price and its potential impact on tourism, right? We know St. Kitts and Nevis is highly dependent on tourism. But more broadly for us in St. Kitts and Nevis is what we're actually seeing at the pumps. I know the Prime Minister announced some measures in his national address, right? But I want to start off first with Nias. Based on the announcements that you've seen, based on what the IMF and all the international agencies would have projected or are projecting for this, and we saw yesterday the Strait of Hormuz was open, and just as we come on air this morning, they've closed the straits again.
Right.
Right. So my question to you is, what should we do? Do you think measures announced have gone far enough to assist in cushioning some of the impacts that are projected? Because this is likely going to last at least for another 2 to 3 months or so.
Well, the quick answer is no. But to go into details, first of all, it was really a letdown for me because, I expected after announcing this address from the Prime Minister for a week, there was anticipation that we're going to get something solid here. Other people expected other things, but we won't go into that. But we got a 36-minute speech from the Prime Minister. At the end of it, we heard what's coming soon. We heard a number of things about a lot of things that we heard before. But in the end, what we got was, 97 cents, 99 cents? Because he took off 50% of the excise, the tax on the fuel per gallon. So in the end, what that amounted to was, I think it was 99 cents or something like that. 98 cents, okay. So he took off 98 cents of a gallon, which is up there in the teens, high teens. So after all of that, I'm saying the answer is no. We have not gotten anything that is really going to make a serious dent in the cost of living. Fuel is going to continue to go up, as we just pointed out. The strait is closed again, and not only that, we are about to get closure in the Red Sea as well. So there we have more problems coming with regards to oil prices. So no, the Prime Minister did not give us anything that would, as you say, cushion the effects that we will be feeling in the coming months. And not only did he give us 98 cents, it is only for a time. It's only for, I think it's until July. So you get 98 cents off of a gallon of gas until July.
I know Edinburgh is probably itching his fingers to respond
of
here.
course, of
But before I go to that, I want to get McCarthy's response here, right? In all fairness, right? Even when the budget was passed in December, we didn't factor in that the United States and Israel would launch a war with Iran, right? In all fairness to the government, right? But then on the flip side to that, we also have to take into account some of the challenges, the global challenges that we've been facing in terms of our major source of revenue, which would be the CBI program.
Right.
And also, we also have to take into account that other geopolitical challenges, you know, the tariff effect is still in place and so forth. So while we want the government to take these measures to cushion us, we also have to be cognizant that even if we take some of these, you know, he took 98 cents off of the dollar, off of the excise tax, it's actually impacting the government's revenue generation for 2026. So taking all this into account, do you think the government could have gone a little bit further to cushion the impact?
What I would say, Jermaine, is that I would want to caution my good friend Azad Gums, as Austin Edinburgh said that he's vying to be government. Do not overpromise the people of St. Kitts and Nevis. And why I say that is because I could recall at a campaign event that the Prime Minister, current Prime Minister, Dr. Terence Jew, and Rebel, promised us, the people, a cap on fuel prices. He declared that fuel prices in St. Kitts and Nevis would not exceed a certain limit. And to date, we have not seen that. And that is why on social media I call for that cap on fuel prices, because he promised us. And I believe that if the Prime Minister, after a week of having us waiting, if he had said campaign promise delivered, there will be a cap on fuel prices, that would have gone a long way in addressing the rising cost of fuel. Of course, we know that we have to pay for fuel. Of course, we know we have to pay for energy. But don't overpromise and underdeliver. Don't overpromise and underdeliver. Yes, the government will take measures, but the government, the Prime Minister, have to remember what he promised the people. And he have to deliver what he promised. And so, that aside, there was a government task force, a committee, to look at the rising cost of living. I'm not sure, maybe Mr. Edinburgh could help me. I think it was headed by the Honorable Excellency Sam Kanda at one point in time. And in 2005, they would have given a review.
With a task force
Yes.
to do what?
To look at the cost of living and volatility in the global volatility.
Under this administration?
Yeah, I think it was headed by Sir Khan.
No.
Yes.
No.
There was a task force with the minimum
there
wage
is
as well.
No, that is what some kind of headed. Minimum wage. What it is under the CAPSEC, and it is still in existence.
It's still in existence. So, what I'm saying, educate us about the cost of living. Why are we paying so much for basic food items? The government have a responsibility to the people. Not today we go into Rams, Valemart, Best Buy, and we see different prices, and they're just going up and up and up. And we asked to live, we asked to survive. We are saying that we have the highest minimum wage, but with the highest minimum wage, the people cannot afford the basic standard of living. So what sense it is to boast that we have the highest minimum wage when the highest minimum wage cannot afford the basic food items? And I'm saying to the government, and I'm saying to these major supermarkets and importers, have a forum with the people, educate the people as to why the prices in the supermarkets are so high.
But in all fairness, though,
Jeremy, may I say something?
Hold on. In all fairness, though, McCarthy, the Prime Minister, and not just the current Prime Minister, but the previous Prime Minister as well, have also been talking about. They both have been talking rather that St. Kitts and Nevis has a high dependency on food imports, and much of that, and the Prime Minister has repeatedly said that much of the inflation that we're faced with is imported. So I think that to an extent addresses some of what you're saying there. But the point is still taken that more education is needed in terms of being able to get the people to understand that 101 equals 2, and that is why we're seeing 2 in the supermarket.
Jermaine, just quickly, because I want other persons to chime in, just quickly. The government should not bring the argument that the price of importation is high when you in the budget allocate $23 million for agriculture. Then we are not serious about food security, and then at the back end give or allow a hotel to get $27 million interest-free loans. And you're saying that we are serious about food security when you give agriculture $23 million and you want us to bring down the price of importation, then we are not serious about food security.
And your point is taken, but before you respond, I really want to hear Edinburgh's response to this particular discussion surrounding.
I'm just surprised that MacArthur is able to quote the budget for agriculture and the agriculture minister was not able to do so.
Right. Interesting.
Okay, go ahead.
You ready for me?
Oh. Yeah, just saying, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. I don't engage in child's play. I'm a grown man. And
what have you been doing all day?
No, I went to 2 studies, or the court 2 studies. There's a recent study followed up on a 3-year ago study. 3 years ago, there was a study done on the attention span of the adult brain, and it was an average of 25 minutes. Very recently, another one was done, as a matter of fact, I think at the start of this year or the end of last year, and it says the attention span of an adult brain is 7 minutes.
So you gotta be quick then.
Now, the point is, if we want to live in a 7-minute world, we will always be able to lie our way through anything. I am from the old school. I look at researches, I do my own research, and I make an informed opinion, or I formulate one. It must be informed. So let me say, right at the start of this Dr. Terence Roulette administration, there was, in fact, a task force set up in relation to the capping of the fuel. And they were making adjustments, and it began. But let us not forget that just prior to the administration coming in, also in 2022, and I think it would have been in February, the real escalated Ukraine-Russia war started. At the very beginning, it did not affect the oil prices down here. It affected it in Europe because it is the natural fuel, what do they call it? Natural gas, sorry, that were mainly interrupted. As time went on, it started affecting the crude oil, petroleum, and the prices escalated. And once they escalate, you can't use taxation in your country to maintain a cap. That is what happened at that time. When the war started with Iran, I was paying $18.81 for a gallon of diesel. I use diesel. Last night I went to the pump and it was about, no, it went up after that. It went up to about 21. It was 18 something and then went to 21. I was scratching my head. But last night I went to the pump and I nearly said, "You'll catch a bus, darling." No, $24.44 for a gallon of diesel. Now, the issue is there was absolutely nothing that neither the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party administration, nor if it was Team Unity, nor if it was PAM, nor Labour in Barbados, nor Motley in Barbados, nobody. There's absolutely nothing that any governments in the Caribbean can do about that. And so, when a prime minister knocks off 98 cents of revenue already projected off a gallon of fuel. So if we use only 1 gallon of fuel, I'm talking about the whole country, that's 98 cents that would come off. But in any event, we probably would only pay $5 overall, I'm just saying. But when we are going to have hundreds, well, let me start by tens of thousands gallons of fuel consumed in that time, then you have to calculate that 98 cents by tens of gallons, tens of thousands of gallons. And that is a revenue that was already projected that would not be coming, because the Prime Minister understands that he got to find something, because the people can't carry it all. But the people must also understand that you are demanding high-end services from your government, and it's going to cost. But what else? It's going to cost them more right now, because the petroleum gone up, so they have to pay more for the services.
Jeremy, I don't think we have much time left. I mean, Edinburgh has had about 5-10.
Yeah, that's all. Here's what I'm going to say to you.
Are you going to wrap up?
Here's what I'm going to say to you, Azad.
Hold on. No, hold on.
Take it as a young man, and a bit of advice from me. Rush will only increase your speed, but not only that does it increase, it increases your tiredness.
I'm not rushing you. I'm just saying you have been speaking for a long time.
All right, thank you very much. So the point is that you have a government that is reaching out to you, and because you didn't create the war, and the government didn't create the war, and some of you all really didn't like Donald Trump, but some of you really did. And I'm saying because of all of those things, and we know that the war is the US and Israel who set out to destroy Iran. And Iran decided, you can't destroy us, we're going to destroy you. And so you have the pathway for oil being blocked, and insurance costs go up, oil costs go up. It's an enormous amount of cost that none of us have anything to do with. All I'm saying, all the Prime Minister is asking, I am going to do the best that I can to make it easier for you. Do something for me. do something for yourself so we can make it easier for all of us. And if that is not a good message, then I don't know what is. Thank you very much.
Okay, go ahead, Azar.
Okay, thank you so much. Your presentation was almost as long as the Prime
That's
Minister's
all right.
presentation.
That's all right.
Said and did nothing.
I tell you something, Charles Play.
So we had the Prime Minister give us a week's notice to really say nothing. And so I don't know if it is something within the Labour Party. I don't know if it's something that Mr. Edinburgh coaches him, because we see Mr. Edinburgh had a long presentation this morning about gas, and he really said nothing. I must say that the Prime Minister's presentation, I think majority of persons, having listened to the Prime Minister for almost 30 minutes, were disappointed. About 70% of those persons who reacted to the Prime Minister's address reacted negatively. Mr. Edinburgh stated that there's nothing that the Prime Minister could do. Of course, we know that is a global issue. The price of oil is going up based on circumstances outside of this country. But we've seen in Antigua...
I said nothing he did to cause the increase. I didn't say there's nothing he can do. So don't misquote me, please.
So you know he could do more?
I didn't say anything about more. I didn't say that. I said he did what he can do, and he asked the people to do something.
So in Antigua and Barbuda, I'm looking at an article, and it says Antigua and Barbuda the government continues to cap the oil, the cost of fuel at about $14 and something cents.
No, gas. That's gas.
Gas, yes. Where's the cap on ours? It's gas.
As promised.
As promised. The Prime Minister, wait, Mr. Edinburgh, the Prime Minister said in 2020,
cost of gas now in
2022, he said that he was going to cap the cost as well. So I thought that this would have been a golden opportunity. He gave us a whole week's notice for us to say at the end of the week that he at least fulfilled one election promise. And so, as Mr. Nias has indicated, he has reduced the tax, but he has reduced it from $1 and let's say 96 cents to 98 cents on a gallon of gas. And I think that he could have done more. I think he could have used the examples of our neighboring countries whose economies are similar to us, whose country size is similar to us, and to cap the costs. I think what he has done, I mean, the little he has done would still have the consumer holding the brunt of the cost for the cost of oil and fuel here in the country. I think for the 3 months, we know it's April. He said April 20th we're going to feel this difference up to July 31st. I think he could have done what the other governments in the Caribbean have done and be more proactive. I think he always drops the ball when he's expected to act.
But hold on. There's something I want to ask, because I think we are talking about this measure or these measures that the Prime Minister has put in place. But at the end of the day, though, is it fair? And I think anyone you guys could also respond to this. Do you believe then that because we're talking about these measures against the backdrop of not having adequate information pertaining to the current state of the economy, because I know we're operating on a budget that was passed before this war, then do you believe that we should basically have a mid-year report from every government going forward so we can get an idea of where we are fiscally regarding all of these decisions that can be made, basically?
I'm not opposed to that.
I didn't get you. You guys didn't hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes. Let me talking about the fuel charges and the 98 cents and all of that. Government can do. And so we're focusing on the fuel. Okay. However, it costs of living and buying power and all of that. What about the affect us? and you take the 98 cents off. You could also do other things that cushion, what we feel here. For example, speakers. We will the VAT will come down. The VAT is the same place today. There's another example of a promise not kept, which could have helped the citizens in terms of the cost of living. So,
when was that promise made?
Can I finish?
I remember Team Unity made that promise.
Can I finish? This current Prime Minister making promises, and to Austin, every time he speaks the past administration. I don't know why.
His advisors does as well.
Well, four years, and we still, every time he gets up to speak, he's still talking about the previous administration. He is to govern. Forget about that. We heard about what was wrong with the past administration. You made it to get it, and their promises not kept. And if we
let's program for our youths. We want to talk about progress in the government because you have a problem because I refer to what was promised in the past. So let's get to the future.
I think Mr. Nice was making the point to the other ways in which he can make the lives of Kittians and Nigerians better.
Apart from fuel, I know it's on the fuel, but the other
if
thing.
If it was to touch areas that would ease the burden of the average person, but we have seen
a comprehensive package that helps the citizens of this country.
We have seen none so far.
None.
The economy is terrible under this Labour administration.
So, he can't help the fuel. We understand that. But there are a lot of
all
promises.
the Caribbean countries try to address the problem.
I hope I will get a chance
Here
to
in
speak on the
St.
economy as well. Because as you go to and fro there, and if you check, because I would like you to go back after and check the recording of this, and you will see who spoke the most. All right, and I want to say something, and I'm going to be very serious about this. I am not here for a banter. And if you can't do better than that, I am not going to be. We will have a discussion, and I will respect you, and you will respect me. That's the only way.
Okay.
I'm not here for a banter.
Okay.
Thank you.
But I'm not seeing where there were any disrespect from either gentleman.
No, I'm talking about banter. Let's educate the people. Let us not every time I speak, you want to jump to something else, because then I'm going to do it, and I don't want to be engaged in it. I don't want to. I really don't want to, and that's what I'm speaking about.
Gentlemen.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Thanks. Okay, I just wanted to make a point. We have to be fair to the administration. That's why I asked the question earlier. Before Nias came in, right? And your points are taken, both Azad and MacArthur and Nias, right? That different islands are doing different things, but realistically, right? Because now, for example, we are basically into the 4th month of the year, right? And not to defend or bash the government, we don't know the state of affairs realistically of the economy. Let's be frank, right? We don't have the numbers to say, okay, we distributed 50 passports, we have X amount of money coming in the consolidated funds under the CBI program, right? Let's be frank.
Could I say, Jermaine, that the state of the economy today, 2026, is a huge result of the performance of the Labour administration. So what it says to me, from 2022 to 2026, they have managed this economy so terribly that they cannot do what other Caribbean countries are doing now.
Jeremy, I would like, okay, when you're finished, I would like an opportunity to speak.
Right?
Thank
because
you.
some of it, right, and again, I think somebody touched on the fact that St. Kitts and Nevis has always talked that it has the highest standard of living and gives the highest minimum wage. But we also have to be realistic that we live in two different worlds, where St. Kitts and Nevis is very expensive, while a place like Grenada or St. Lucia, which is a little bit more cheaper than it is, right, where you might be making $1,500, and that's a good salary compared to somebody making $3,000. So we have to be realistic, right? And one side of the coin may say the administration has been doing terrible, but equal to that, they have taken certain measures based on the performance of the economy and based on the geopolitics as well. Because I mean, many things that we as journalists do, we do reports and we get certain information that have not been included broadly into a story to say, okay, the CBI is faltering because China pull out or we sanction Russians, right? We might not go that dramatic, but there are certain geopolitics surrounding the CBI program, for example, which has long been one major pillar of our economy, that changes, quote unquote, here had to be made to the program. We've been seeing that, and those changes have significantly impacted the CBI program, right? So your point is taken.
And my point is still,
right.
Jermaine, that the changes under the CBI was during the Labour-led administration.
Jermaine, I would like to speak now, please, because Azad has spoken three times since the last time I spoke.
Let me make this point and I'll give you the floor. Right. In all fairness, though, Azad, while the changes had to be made under this administration, whether or not it was Mr. Abel's administration or John Doe's administration, I think realistically the changes had to be made, right? Because if you look at the 7th report last year that was published by the European Commission, which said that St. Kitts and Nevis over a decade gained 56,000 economic citizens, right? They also flagged concerns that certain areas where the citizens came from, those people who invested in St. Kitts, let me be correct, they came from jurisdictions that would ordinarily require visas. And I'm just saying here, paraphrasing from what the 7th report said, right? And your point again is taken, Azad, right? But it's just that we need to be a little bit
changes were made in Antigua too, Jermaine.
Oh Lord of mercy! You see me again? You again, Azad. Only you want to have a mouth to talk.
We have to take that into consideration because they flagged all of the EU, the ECCU countries that had the program.
Yeah.
I'll let you respond. You can respond in your round.
Jermaine,
I want to give Edinburgh a chance to respond before I start to take raps. But Edinburgh, I give you a minute to respond because we just have about.
Oh boy! Anyhow, all I would say, Jermaine, is that that's not enough time. But all I would say is that when it comes to our economic report, no matter where you are in the Caribbean, CBI is under threat. There's not one jurisdiction in the Caribbean that is have citizenship by investment program that has more people now purchasing than they did a year ago. Not one. Additionally, this administration has taken our tourism industry and has introduced a new segment for the first time. And it is not for want of trying, well, that they didn't go out and look it before, because they did. But from 2027, St. Kitts will begin to do home porting. Home porting is something that all islands that do involve in cruise tourism want to get, because it brings more revenue into the country by the persons who come to take the boat and then leave from here to go back home. That has never once before happened for St. Kitts and Nevis. It is happening now. That's an improvement on what we had. We have also improved on the number of cruise passengers that has come to St. Kitts. Unfortunately, We do have a service-oriented industry, and that is what it has been since PAM administration in the 1980s. And so we are dealing with it. And I'm not faulting anybody. I'm taking what is the reality. And so this administration has added that one part to tourism. Let us take agriculture. And whether we are liking it or not, last year, in terms of export, is the most export that has come out of St. Kitts in our agriculture industry in quite a number of years, if not ever. I don't have the figures with me because I didn't expect you to speak about the economy. Otherwise I would have brought them. But there are things that's happening in the economy that is incrementally pushing it upward. And in this Caribbean where we are, with all of the geopolitical and geoeconomic difficulties, we can take more at this time than incremental steps. And in my humble opinion, St. Kitts is ahead of all the others who they are calling out. Thank you very much.
Okay, I just want to make one point, right, before I get you guys to wrap. I'll just give each one of you just about a minute to wrap because we're really out of time. There has long been talk of that St. Kitts and Nevis needed to diversify away from the CBI program, right? And I can recall that the former Prime Minister did make this announcement sometime back at a press conference, and he got a lot of flack for it, right? That, you know, St. Kitts and Nevis, and I'm just paraphrasing here, needed to move away from that pillar because that pillar of the economy can collapse. And he did get some pushback from the opposition at the time that we needed to move away from the CBI, dependency on the CBI program, right? I'll just say that. So to add to what Edinburgh said, you know, we basically, I'm just paraphrasing here, that, you know, we've been developing other sectors within the economy of St. Kitts and Nevis, which is incrementally growth. While equally to that, you know, some others, we're not doing so well in those areas. But I will start with Nias, and then we go to MacArthur.
Okay.
And last word from you guys.
All right, thanks. Well, let me just wrap this way. You know, what we found in the last 3 to 4 years is that it seems the current administration doesn't really have a handle on how to move this economy along. And Ed just mentioned cruise and how well we're doing, and we're getting home ports. And I saw some article lately about MSC World Europa coming into St. Kitts. And I sit and I reflect and I said, wait a minute now. Isn't that wonderful that we're doing so great? But think about this. What if Port Zante didn't exist? What if we didn't have a port and a pier that can take that size of ship? You know, it's every time they talk about that, you're seeing, right? And that is why I commend all the efforts in tourism and in cruise tourism. But we must not forget that it took vision to get us there. And so I'm happy for all those improvements. And so there you have it. But the thing is, there was a lot of promises made. And they sounded good, and the electorate went out and said, well, great, this is all great. We're going to put these people in control of the government. And today, we're not seeing any of that. And so that is the problem that we are having today. And until they get a handle on this thing, then maybe somebody else should be governing. So there you go.
MacArthur?
Yes. I remember, Jermaine, I remember as a little boy, we heard about the road to nowhere at South Friars Bay, Southeast Peninsula. We heard about the road to nowhere. And now, today, we are arguing and we are fighting for rights of bar owners and development of the Southeast. The Southeast. We've heard about the criticism for Port Zante when it was being built. We heard about the pier being spoiled when the second cruise pier was being built. But now today, we are benefiting from what could have been non-existent if we were following the advice of some persons before. Contrast to that, we are still waiting on Embassy Suite. We are still waiting on the La Valley project. We are still waiting on the MSR Media Hotel. We are still waiting on Christoph Harbour. We are still waiting on Pirates Nest. We are still waiting on Kittishan Hill. We are still waiting on the White Gate Development Project. We are still waiting for Beaumont Park to come on stream again. And all of these things, I'm saying, we as a country, not political parties, we as a country have to hold the government of the day accountable. Accountable. We have to force the government to invest in the people. Let the economy start to work for the people. We have had over 20 years of billion-dollar budget, and to date we are not seeing where the small businesses, the driver of the economy, we are not seeing the benefit that these things are bringing to the people. Look at the contrast again. Austin Edinburgh spoke, not on here, but we have heard about the lands, the golf course in Frigate Bay. Getting back the lands, the government getting back the lands. And what we did, we gave Marriott 725 shares of CBI to sell. What about the people? When would common man get a chance for the economy, for the CBI, for all of these government investment and government projects start working for them? When will the small business get a break? When? And that is what I'm saying, that the government of the day must start to work in the best, and the number one priority for any government should be their people.
Okay, Edinburgh?
Thank you very much. I'll try to be as brief as I can.
7, 6.
It's all right. I'll be brief, my brother. I'm simply saying, history, the future. So let me start. For the first time in the history of St. Kitts and Nevis tourism industry and cruise industry, from 2027, we will begin to home port. So all of us are talking about the beach, bars on the beach, and prior to 1975, we had to pay to drive through Frigate Bay to get to the beach. The founders of PAM wanted it to be so and supported it. The most excellent Sir Robert Llewellyn Bradshaw nationalized Frigate Bay. And in 1978, when he embarked on the Royal St. Kitts Hotel, the same people had far more to say. But I don't want to live like that. I want to acknowledge that the one and only declared right that the people of St. Kitts and Nevis has in our laws, regardless to which one, is one that was procured and given to them by our most excellent Sir Robert Llewellyn Bradshaw. And that is the right to access our beaches and to enjoy them for recreational purposes. Thank you very much.
Okay, so I want to say that Mr. Edinburgh talks about home porting. Of course, that would not have been even possible without the Team Unity administration, in which Pam was a part, with the construction of the second cruise pier. He talks about a number of things. Again, I say, Jermaine, I was making the point that yes, we understand that the CBI would have gone through some changes, but it's not just for St. Kitts and Nevis, for the Caribbean as well. And with those changes, Caribbean countries have still been able to offer greater relief to their citizens than we are getting here from our Prime Minister and our governments. Other Caribbean countries have been able to manage this global situation better than we have here in St. Kitts and Nevis. So it goes towards leadership. I think over the past years, 4 years almost, we've seen so many unfulfilled promises. We've seen the Labour administration in their uncaring nature. You see how they treat their own citizens, our own citizens, when it comes to development. And I'm saying that more is expected, better is expected from government. And when the People's Action Movement forms office during the next election, will do better. A lot of the concerns that you hear now, the People's Action Movement will address. And we're not going to just talk. We realize the last administration, the government that's in right now, the Labour administration, all they did in the last election campaign cycle was just talking. And they have not fulfilled any of their promises. And so while Mr. Edinburgh here smiles because he sits comfortably with this administration, many of us can't smile because this administration is hurting the people of St. Kitts and Nevis.
All right. Thanks, gentlemen. Thank you for being part of the discussion today. I know there's one other topic we did not get to, but I'll save that for another discussion. It was really good being in your company today, guys. It's really good to get your opinion on the discussion, and I hope the public get a better understanding of where we are as a society in St. Kitts and Nevis. Just before I go, though, I just want to remind people again about the news this morning, that we woke up to the news that another young man was fatally shot. So the Federation recorded another homicide this morning, and that shooting occurred in Otley's. Yes, we don't have any details as yet. The police were still working the scene when they sent out that notice this morning. Again, we have to take stock of where we are as a society, because we cannot continue to allow incidents like these to happen regardless of who is in office or so forth. We have to call out these instances of gun violence in St. Kitts and Nevis, because it does not look good for us. As a journalist, I can tell you it does not look good for us, because we get calls all the time for data and all of that from regional and international media. When stories like these are published, it does not speak well for a tourism-dependent society. So we all have to take stock of incidents like these. Be our brothers' keepers, be our sisters' keepers, as we have always been saying. Well, we're out of time, and we have to break now for the midday news. Kevin Brown is on the news desk today. So, gentlemen, thank you again for joining us. I do hope that you will come again and we have another fruitful debate sometime in the near future. At that point in time, I'll be back in the studios to moderate the debate, and I hope next time I can bring some gloves for you guys to maybe we can brawl. But it was good being a company for today.
It has been a good discussion.
Yeah, old man, we can't take our gloves. It's been good to be here as well.
We'll put Edinburgh to be the referee. But until next time, do enjoy your weekend, you guys.
He told me, promised me something up there.
You found the sound. 98.9.